Hi, welcome to the All Things LGBTQ interview show, where we interview LGBTQ guests who are making important contributions to our communities.
All Things LGBTQ is taped at Orca Media in Montpelier, Vermont, which we recognize as being unceded Indigenous land.
Thanks for joining us and enjoy the show. Hi, everybody at LGBTQ All Things Considered World. I would very excited to welcome Jo Bauer to the show. She has a book of poetry out, which is very exciting. I've read some and really enjoying it. So let me tell you a little bit about Jo. Jo went to Kalamazoo College in Michigan, where she became interested in cultures different from her own. She studied at Connington College in Liberia. And, you know, she really felt like she was being seen there for the first time. She's involved in journalism, which brought her to South Africa and Zimbabwe. She's had a very exciting and interesting travels and interests. She got her MSW at Boston University School of Social Work. She worked for 20 years at Independent Living, working with people with disabilities in Lawrence, Massachusetts. And when she retired, she went back to Libya and you adopted a child. When she retired, she returned to her first love, writing. So, hi, Jo. Do you have anything you want to add to that? It's really exciting that you've been to all these places and done all these interesting things.
Oh, I've been very fortunate. I have to say I'm really enjoying my retirement as well and the opportunity to write.
Yeah. And when did you retire?
About 8 years ago now, I think.
Okay. And your book is called The Edge of Everything.
Yes, and it's actually not quite out yet. It's due to be published by Finishing Line Press on January, the end of January, if it stays on schedule. But it is available for pre-order.
Okay.
On my website.
We'll put your website up so it'll flash across the screen.
Okay.
So people will know where to order your book when they, especially after they hear a couple, they'll just be like, oh, I gotta get that.
Oh, yes. Well, we hope so.
So can you tell us a little bit? I mean, I know that you take a lot from personal experience.
Right. Yep.
From your particular struggles and the struggles of people around you. And that you were, you know, your work has a real connection with the surroundings and your personal experiences. So I really appreciated that. And you're also part of Poetry Society of Vermont. We'll give them a plug here, right?
Yes.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about, you know, you mentioned exploring themes of nature and human emotion. How did you bring those together? How do you feel about writing about things that are personal?
Well, I've always been a lover of nature. I have spent parts of almost every summer in the southern Maine woods at our family camp in Kittery. And I really have just always loved nature and the outdoors, really back to childhood, and really love to explore and just be out in nature. And I also love to swim. I had an early love of swimming, and that was also kind of being out in nature. And so that was very much a part of who I was from a very young age. I kind of discovered writing, or writing discovered me, when I was a senior in high school, and I had an assignment from my English teacher to write a poem about whatever. And that was where it started. And I just haven't stopped. Although I kind of put it on pause for many years while I worked and had a family and a lot of other stuff happened to me. But nature has always been very grounding for me. I kind of returned to the trees, trees that were 3-foot saplings when I was 10 are now like huge trees that form a canopy at our summer camp. And so to be able to be part of that nature and to watch the passage of time and how it affects the land and how it affects living things. It's all part of a cycle of life that has always just intrigued me, and I've used my words to try to make sense of what is very often nonsensical in this world. And as a way of trying to encourage others, I guess, because I have had my share of struggles, but I've also had many, many helpers along the way, and I've been inspired, to just keep exploring both my inner landscape and the landscapes around me.
And I know you said that you were interested in, what brought you to Zimbabwe and was, like sort of wanting to explore other cultures, other part of yourself. And so when you say, like for the first, I know you dealt with disabilities um, after your mother's, was it breech birth?
Yes,
Uh-huh. And
I
you felt seen there for the first time. What was it about that experience that made you feel like seen for the first time?
well, I've always been a very much person in my based out of my feelings. I'm a feeling person. I feel things very deeply, whether it's joy, whether it's sorrow, and I've been always been an emotional person in that way. And that sets me apart from many other people who don't seem to feel their feelings or be in touch with their feelings in such a deep way. And in some ways I feel like I've been often misunderstood because I cry easily, I laugh easily. Um, but over time, over the years, I have found like minded people, and I know that I'm not the only one, but I have a very high degree of empathy for the suffering of others because I have gone through challenges as a person with a lifelong disability. And I have learned what recovery is all about. It's not always about a cure, but it's about coming to terms with one's limitation and learning to live with it and through it. And like I say, I've had many helpers, um, many people by my side through that journey, and I just want people to know that that's a resource that's available, um, and people don't have to feel alone or isolated or take in the stigma from the world, which I did for many years. Um, until I figured out that my disability could be an asset, could
Yeah,
give me added sensitivity to the differences of others. And so those differences are what make us unique and what make us splendid beings. Because if we were all the same, it would be so boring.
yeah.
That's kind of my thought about it. And so I seek out what's different, in my own life and in nature and in people I'm close to, and what makes each of us unique.
Yeah.
Um, and so that has been a part of my life journey.
And you talk about, like, I've read in some of your readings that you're on Substack. So if anybody wants to reach you or hear what you're talking about, they can go to Substack for that, right?
Yep, yep.
Do you have a handle for that we can put on the screen so that people can find you?
Yes, I do. I will give it to you, and so you can put it on the screen.
Great, great. And so you can find her there. So you seem to have like, you were writing in high school, you had a mentor there, that's someone who really encouraged you, correct? And then you kind of, you know, did some scientific stuff, right? Like you were into science there for a little bit, right? And then you went to South Africa and Zimbabwe to do journalism. So
Yes, I saw myself as a writer, and I went to college and looked into creative writing and decided I really couldn't make a living as a poet. So I switched to journalism, and I found my way to Southern Africa for a year for an internship. And after that, I realized when I came back from there and did small town journalism that I was continually getting myself entangled with and caught up with the stories of people I was reporting on.
yeah,
And so that led me to decide that human services was really a better place for me than journalism, where I always had to be a step back and objective about um, people's dilemmas they found themselves in. And so that was just sort of a natural evolution for me. And, I had a long career in human services, came up from the bottom, eventually ended up doing program design and innovative systems design in human services and for people with um, psychiatric distress. I was sort of in the forefront of the development of the recovery movement, the mental health recovery movement in Massachusetts, and the establishment of a system of peer support there. Um, and so, one thing kind of led to another, to another, to another. And so I had a career. It was very satisfying. And
yeah,
20 years,
very.
20 plus years I spent at Northeast Independent Living Program, where ones of growth and feeling affirmed as a person with disabilities, and that I had something to share and something to offer to the world. And so that got kind of planted in me through those years.
And
um,
people with disabilities who could see you probably and say, she's done well, she's created this very interesting life, and so can't I would imagine there was much of that sort of, if you're an empathetic person, I'm sure that really came through and was really helpful to
yeah, well, I had my struggles just like anyone else, and so I don't consider myself heroic or anything in that way. But it is possible to find support and to find caring people who can help a person feel seen and feel like a whole person.
yeah.
And disability does not have to define a person as less than.
Do you feel like in this present um, political environment, I know that, on some levels, they're trying to get rid of disabilities as a, like as a woke kind of issue. Um, and I know that they have talked about getting rid of a lot of those guidelines of, having ramps, making sure people can get to where they want to go, and all that. So has that impacted, do you think, the industry yet, or maybe?
I don't know. I think a lot of very strong advocates continue to work hard in the disability movement to maintain our visibility as people with disabilities. And that can also be said for those in the gay and trans community. And I think, if anything, it's just made us all more determined to be seen, to step up and say, we're here. And I mean, to me, the whole move to try to do away with diversity and inclusion is nonsense, because it's our differences that really make us unique and special, and which really enhance life for all of us, is celebrating those differences and lifting them up rather than trying to do away with them and make everyone just the same.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very, very misguided trend that we're seeing in the government right now. And I certainly hope that it won't go on, because our disabilities, our differences are our strengths, really.
Yeah. So before I ask you to read the first poem for us, who are your literary influences? Who do you like as poets, as writers?
Oh, I like so many people, and I'm always discovering more. But I really follow people like David White, people like Maya Popa, Mary Oliver, of course. You're not a poet if you haven't dug into Mary Oliver. James Cruz, who's a gay Vermont poet of some renown, and I love his work and his view of the natural world. Pedro Otuma, another Irish poet who's just fabulous. His books are really just fabulous, and the way he talks about poetry is very inspiring. Yeah, so those are just a few.
So would
And
you,
I'm always hearing about new poets. And I have found in Vermont a wonderful poetry community or writers community. And a lot of those people have not ever been published, but boy, they can write a mean streak,
yeah,
And I'm very, very fortunate to be rooted in a writing community that's quite wonderful
I know
right
it's
here
really
in
good.
Vermont. And
I
so
when I
anyone
lived in,
who wants
yeah,
to write, you don't have to be a famous name or have a zillion books or anything like that. You just pick up a pen and you write what's in your heart. And that can, in itself, can be a very healing and self-affirming thing to do. So I believe in the healing power of writing and poetry. And yeah,
so would you read a poem for us?
sure. Um, the first one I'm going to read is about my daughter.
Okay.
Um, it's called Lake Carmi with my daughter. Sitting behind you in a low slung kayak, I marvel at swinging black braids sliding down your back, shiny in the equinox sun. Each stroke of dark water reminds me of the nights you swore you'd never go back to fair weather lovers, whose loyalty proved as shallow as lily pad roots. Now, at the turning of our seasons together, as our lives intertwine again, anchored in aging love, we turn as one for the deep waters of Lake Carmi.
Oh, nice. And so how did you, like how do you write? Like a lot of people write in the morning, night, during the day, or they carry around paper and pencil. What influences you to, or how do you come upon your writing
I,
agenda?
I live my life, and when there's an image that catches my fancy, I file it away. I put things on my phone in my notes quite a bit, and then I come back to them and I try to develop them.
Hmm.
Um, and
So
some
you don't have a
experiences
writing.
like that time in the kayak when my daughter just made such an impression on me that I had to write, to capture that experience and what that meant to me and all the different layers of our relationship. Yep.
Do you do you have a schedule at all, or is it?
No, I don't have a regular writing practice, like a daily thing. I am not that organized. Um,
Me either.
Even though lots of people say, "Oh, you should this, you should that," but I'm not one much for shoulds. And in the last couple of years, I managed to write enough to put a book together, so I don't consider it to be a problem that I don't have a regular writing practice because life tends to send me to the page.
I know I'm often running around with little, like, okay, now what, Um,
Right, right.
uh, so do you have like I don't know, like sometimes when I'm gonna write, I walk around listening to music or I read other poets.
Yep,
You do much of that kind of stuff too?
I do. Music is very inspiring to me, and I often will have music on while I'm writing because I find that helps bring the feelings out, helps me clarify what I'm experiencing enough so that I can find the words to put it down on paper.
I know sometimes, like if I listen to the blues, people think, like that would make you sad, but actually it's uplifting to
Yeah,
almost get into that emotion, almost makes you happier than sort of,
absolutely.
yeah, so
Yeah.
um, I really enjoyed that too. So before we end our interview, and I'd like to have you end on a note of reading another poem, of course. Is there anything else you would like the audience to know? We're gonna put up your uh, a stream so they know where to find you on Substack and where to find your book. And do you have any readings coming up? Are you
I do.
okay?
I do. I have a reading coming up on Sunday, November 16th at the Unitarian Church of Montpelier. And I have to check the time because I don't keep these things in my head. Um, at 1:30 at the Unitarian Church in Montpelier, and that's on Main Street. And then I have another reading coming up at the Burlington Free Library the next Sunday, November 23rd, and that one I believe is at 2:30.
Okay,
Let me see. Yeah, 2:30 in the Pickering Room
okay.
at the Burlington Library, and I certainly encourage people to join me for either of those.
Yeah. Okay, so would you read us another poem?
Sure. This is the poem that closes the book. It's called Traveler. Is it wisdom I seek or truth? And if truth, whose? The one learned by my childhood self, forever trapped in boring saddle shoes? Or the one imagined by my spirit, dancing through cultures far different from my own? To find the origins of my wild, wandering self, I travel through my lifetime, dive into my wildness, descend to the bottom. Although different, even alien, I always knew myself to be other, outsider, seeking without ceasing a name truly my own. This one word still eludes me. My true calling from the universe comes slowly on the journey spiraling in from a starry night in a lakeside campground to a kayak paddling with my daughter. But as I travel further, this I know for sure, my compass is true.
Very good. I wish that for everybody. Thank you, Joe, and we'll be talking to you soon. And thank you for coming on the show.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to share my writing and a little bit about myself. So
Thank
thank
you.
you, Linda. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, remember, resist.